figured out our problem. So thank you so much for coming. I see a wonderfully full room of students and faculty. This is a very special day for us all. As you all know, it's a signature tradition of our college, because we are clearly the best college of design in the country, to actually host the ASLA president. So to us, this happens every year, and to other people, it happens sometimes never. Now, it's one thing that we host the ASLA president, but it's quite another when he's our man. So it's an exceptional privilege to have him here. And before I give a very short introduction and share with you a few experience I've had with him and his remarkable bio, I want to give a shout out. You're in the presence, in case you missed it, of both the president and the vice president for education of this esteemed society. Our associate dean, Ashley Stephens, is the vice president for education, so Ashley has the misfortune today to be around both of her bosses. But I do feel that this one is much more charming. There's nothing I can do about that. So Kona and I met. Can everyone hear me? Yes. Okay, everyone can hear me, great. So I believe that Kona and I met 8 years ago at the ASLA, although I can't remember where it was. And I believe then I was sitting with our then development officer, and she said, "You have to meet this guy because he will become president." I didn't know of what he will become president. So I'm just going to assume that this is just the first of his presidencies. I think that she was talking, she had a broader vision, so we'll see. We'll see. But I have had the privilege of being a friend of Kona, if you allow me to say that. For the 8 years that I have been dean of this esteemed college. In case you didn't know, I forgot to say, I'm Sonia Kurt and I'm the dean of the college. Kona is our alum. He graduated, well, unfortunately before I was dean, so I can't take credit for that, otherwise I would have. But he graduated in 1997 with his BOA, and he has been a leader of our profession for 30 years now, and his work experience actually covers more than 30 countries. It is perfectly clear that Kona is one of the most astonishing people and citizens and landscape architects and built environment professionals that our college has. But I think that the truth is that he's probably one of the most remarkable people, at least of our generation, that actually has graduated from the University of Georgia. So I think what he's done is even bigger than our college, if you can possibly imagine that.
I don't believe it either, Kona. I know you're struggling.
You can never help it. Kona believes in designing welcoming places that promote community and vitality in diverse neighborhoods around the world. His portfolio includes award-winning projects, parks, hospitality projects, urban design projects, mixed-use destinations, healthcare, and campus spaces. When he's not presidenting, and when he's not helping the CED in his free time, he's principal at EDSA, which is a firm we know well. Many of our graduates end up there. Actually, the newest member of our Dean's Advisory Council is coming from the same place. So, as you all know, he is the current president of the ASLA, and he is also a fellow of the ASLA, which is the highest honor that this society gives. Previously, he served as vice president for professional practice in landscape architecture, and he also served as Landscape Architecture Foundation president. So I've known Kona for 8 years. Like I said, it's probably one of the greatest honors of my life that I met him. He serves on our own Dean's Advisory Council, and was this the first year of COVID or the second that you were the commencement speaker by Zoom?
It was the second year.
The second year. And it was one of the most beautiful and moving speeches that I've heard from a commencement speaker, because he really told us a remarkable personal story. And at the end of the day, all beautiful stories are deeply personal stories. So I still remember, but I won't steal your thunder.
All right.
You might want to say it,
Yeah.
so I'll be
Some people that don't know
quiet.
the story.
Yeah, some people don't know his story. It's a story of its own kind. So in addition to his service to us and his great friendship and all the opportunities he has opened for us, with connecting us with the firm and all kinds of wonderful other opportunities, I'm just shocked to hear that he's also serving on the advisory board of the University of Miami School of Architecture at the same time.
Yep.
My goodness. So he's on Audience Advisory Council. He's the president. He is also serving on the NCU, North Carolina, NSU, I'm sorry, School of Business. Who would have thought? I've learned this today. He's naturally a registered landscape architect, but what surprised me, somehow I missed this in this bio, that in addition to all that, in addition to his BOA degree, he also has a real estate certificate from Cornell University. Now, naturally, I hate Cornell, but what I want to say, because they're competitors, but it's the real estate certificate that is something I want to bring up,
Yeah.
because believe it or not, officially today, I submitted it, our very own. So I feel that it's really, now that we heard God through Tom, I think really it's a sign of God. If Kona is here and he has a certificate, it's going to get approved. It's like we have his blessing. So it's a good day for the CD on several fronts. And of course, the most amazing thing that's happening to us all is that we have here Kona, one of our own. Just for those of you who other people ask you, for these advisory council members, this is available also on Zoom, and it's being recorded, but to actually post the recording on the website, they do professional editing, so it's not going to be available tomorrow, so there's a little bit of a time lag. For all the friends who ask you how we can see this later, it's not going to be, it's going to take a couple weeks. So with no further ado, I turn it to the star of the show, and I want to express on behalf of all of us our deepest gratitude for him taking the time, flying the same day and giving a talk. So I guess his lecture is on resiliency, and that proves it. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's pretty humbling, and I'd also like to thank our Georgia chapter, EDSA Georgia chapter, for their support of our students and all the work that we do. And certainly I'd like to thank you. I mean, you guys are taking time out of your busy lives to be here, and it's much appreciated. And just please understand that it means a lot to me. I do this quite a bit, and I know that people have other things to do, and I'm so happy you're here to spend some time together, to get to know each other. What's also important is that we should always acknowledge and respect our indigenous people, and our ancestors did quite a bit in terms of stewardship of this planet, and it really matters, so we should always pay attention to that. And I know right now it is our time. We're all here doing what we do every day because we love the land. It's so cool. And I want to really impress upon you all that now is our time, right? Every day, to really celebrate land and culture. So my intent today is to provide a message of hope. I know it may seem crazy sometimes, but it's okay. And also a call to action for a resilient future. We need each other. And most importantly, people need landscape architecture to make sure that we are here and we continue to thrive. You may be wondering about the title, Higher Ground. I'm a big Stevie Wonder fan, and he wrote Higher Ground back in 1973, appeared on his Inner Vision album. And I didn't know he was going through a lot of this stuff until I started to, read and watch documentaries on him. But that was a tough time for him, right? And so he was reaching for higher ground despite challenges. He was going through some serious challenges in his life. I believe we all do the same. Every day, we're still pushing forward. And I just want to encourage you to keep that going. And I think if we together support this planet, right, we will keep on doing it together for a long time. Because imagine if the land didn't exist, right? Where would we be, right? Buildings wouldn't be anywhere, roads wouldn't be anywhere, we wouldn't be. And I just think it's important that we continue to remember that that is our touch point. That's the reason why we're here, to be stewards of the land. This image in the background is Unicoi State Park. And I was so fortunate to take Mr. Alan Stovall's class. And it was planning class, and we went camping. We went up to the park, we were in the tented area, and then we went on the stilts, and we spent a whole weekend there. And then a bunch of us went down to the riverbed and actually slept there. And it was really eye-opening to wake up in the morning and see, this little stream, and people were out there fly fishing. I was like, oh my God, this is it. This is really, really, really it. And we read the Sand County Almanac and Rural by Design and books like that really made me appreciate why we do what we do. So let's jump into this. So first things first, I want to get us organized. Our time today will be organized around design, practice, and partnership. That's the direction I took in this leadership role, and it really means a lot to me. I'll touch on that a little bit more. There are key takeaways. I want us to really look at the basics of design as sort of the reality of who we are. I mean, that's who we are, that's our foundation. And also look at how we can celebrate the many ways we practice. We have academic practice, we have private practice as a landscape architect in a private company, public, et cetera, and I'll share some more. There's so many ways you can do what you do. I can tell you right now, it's pretty incredible. And I also want us to leverage our similarities and really look at how we uplift partnerships, because that's how we support a restorative future. The image in the background here is one of our favorite projects, a UNESCO World Heritage Site in Italy, Castiglione del Bosco. And it just shows you why the land is so important. This family, it's the Ferragamo family, we work with them to actually save this place. It was going to get destroyed. And so now it's a very, very small boutique hotel that provides an opportunity for people to get in touch with nature. You can cook from food from the gardens, you can drink wine, obviously, and do all sorts of really, really fun things. And so as I go through each one of these chapters, reality, reconciliation, and restoration, there will be QR codes and that you can catch to get to some of the ASLA resources I'm going to talk about, and there's also books. So anybody that knows me knows that I share a lot of books. I think Amazon sales just goes way up after one of my lectures, so maybe I can get a cut. I don't know. So first I'm going to start with a little bit about me, because most of you don't know who I am. Back in 1965, my parents, Bob and Rommel, met in Boston, Massachusetts, more specific, Cambridge, and they met at a party because they were immigrants. They immigrated from Liberia, West Africa, fell in love, and got married. Shortly after that, had 2 kids, my sister and I. There's a funny story. My dad and mom were kind of dating, kind of getting to know each other. My mom needed to go back. And my dad was like, don't leave. I really want us to stay together. And she was like, give me a reason to stay. He proposed. And she said yes. So imagine, they were undergrads. And then they had 2 kids, like 66 and 68, my sister and I, still in undergrad. Crazy, 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 crazy. And so they continued their studies, moved over to Seattle, Washington, and we landed at the University of Washington, in Seattle. So UW, my parents did their graduate studies, and it was just unbelievable. I mean, for a young guy, that was just a really impressionable time in my life. It was amazing. And that's my mom's stylist, right? She's got her pinky out. Yeah, I love this photo. And my dad, Bob Gray, at 85 years old, he's still practicing architecture. He's an architect, and he's got all the latest gadgets and gizmos, and he's really, really fun. And then from there, they moved their way back across the U.S., and then we went to Liberia, where I'm from. This is where I grew up. This is why I'm a landscape architect. That was the land. It was very rural, so I have so much appreciation for all types of landscapes. And it was just so incredible. I mean, I met amazing people, had a lot of fun, spent a lot of time outside. The only curfew was sunlight. So as soon as it started to get dark, I needed to get home, or I got the whistle or got in trouble. Next, we made it back to the U.S. because we dealt with a pretty unfortunate situation in Liberia, civil unrest. And that's when I realized that land and culture is really what was inspiring my life. On the edges, you can see the things that inspire me from family and friends, Liberia. You can also see the places I've traveled and the cultures I appreciate. Obviously, I'm a big Bob Marley fan. And down the middle, you'll see a bit of my story in terms of who I am today. That's my wife and I before we got married at the very top. I began my process in education at Shamrock High School in Decatur, which I mentioned earlier. I started in fine art at SCAD down in Savannah, loved it. Moved on to architecture at the Boston Architectural College in Boston, Mass. And then stumbled upon UGA. Boy, was I lucky. Boy, I was telling that story earlier. I'm just so happy. I mean, this is the foundation of who we are. And then on the bottom with our dog is my daughter, Kyla, and she's currently at SCAD right now studying production design. So it all comes full circle. Life is pretty amazing, and it goes fast. So enjoy every moment and always be happy. Then I discovered EDSA. This was also a fluke. I was looking for a senior capstone project, and I needed a resort, and these guys design resorts, so I cold called them, and they had a project for me. So it's like, you never know until you ask. That was my first job. They called me back and offered me a job, and it's the first one. I've been there 28 years, believe it or not. That's rare for a lot of professionals. A lot of professionals are moving around. But we're a global design company, which is great. We're like a little mini United Nations. Whenever I come into the studio, I'm just so impressed to meet wonderful people just in love with landscape architecture and trying their best to continue doing that, and it is just great. And we really believe in that the human experience is the forefront of what we do and making sure that people love the landscape. Been around for 65 years, established in 1960, very, very focused on design, 300 plus design awards, and we have a global presence because of our founder's dad, who was a star architect back in the day and took all these assignments around the world, and we followed him. Our projects range in scale from this very, very large 4,000 acre park in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. It's an amazing central park that's focusing on their 2030 sustainability goals. To a very, very small 1 acre park in North Miami, where we took a very dilapidated piece of land and created an outdoor living room for the community. This is my favorite project. Whenever people ask me, like, well, you've done all this stuff around the globe, what's your favorite project? I'm like, this little one right here. We donated our services, everybody did, we all worked together. The budget was about $600,000, and we made a lot with that. And it's just seeing the happiness created through landscape architecture just really solidified it for me. All right, so enough about me, let's talk about we. This is our mission, ASLA's. It's so simple, right? We design, and we always design, but what ASLA does is we empower our members to design a sustainable and equitable world through landscape architecture, full stop. It's pretty easy. The environment, people, right? That's been the get-go since 1899 for our society. That's what's so wonderful about what we do. There's no confusion. It's not partisan, it's not this way or that way, it's not crazy. It's what we all need. It's the greater good, and it's really fantastic. First book is going to be coming up, but I'm going to start this chapter on reality. By now you can tell that I love music, and I've talked about it. At that commencement speech, I touched on another favorite artist. Oh God, one of my favorites, Marvin Gaye. And Marvin Gaye, back also in the early 70s, wrote a song called Mercy, Mercy Me, The Ecology. It is an anthem for landscape architects. Can you imagine those times, right? You know, 60s, late 60s, early 70s. It was crazy. You think it's bananas now? Think about it for a minute. Go and check out the 60s. It was crazy. It was so crazy. We had Vietnam, we had assassinations, we had all sorts of just ridiculous things happening. And then our environment was just being trashed, right? And that's where a lot of really amazing landscape architects stepped up and said, all right, enough's enough. You know, so that's when Ian McHarg, and we had great writers like Rachel Carson, all stepped up and said, there's a better way, people. We need this planet. Let's not muck it up. And so I think that's a very important message there, because even Marvin Gaye knew that when he wrote his memoirs. You know, his message with the song was that stewardship is the key. Guess what? That's us. First book Cradle to Cradle. Who's read this? Anyone? Awesome, awesome. Yeah, this is probably one of the most favorite books I read when I started to get more into sustainability, because I got to understand that it's a full circle, right? We shouldn't be wasting stuff, right? And it's interesting when you go to places where they don't have a lot of resources, they don't waste stuff. They use as much as they possibly can because they have no choice. And so we need to do the same. It will allow us to be around for a lot longer. Because I kind of love this little marble, right? This is pretty cool. This is a shot from 1968 from the Apollo 8 orbit of the moon, and it's pretty incredible. When you go up there, you don't see any boundaries, you don't see any kind of territories. It's us. This is it, right? It's really incredible, and we all are part of this ecosystem. This is our ecosystem, right? We have to take care of it because when you pull elements out of an ecosystem, they get thrown off. And I think that's really important because we need to exist harmoniously with this planet, with all beings, because the more we do that, the better off we are. Because this proverb says it all, right? It's not ours to muck with, right? It's just not ours. We are here to be stewards. We do not inherit this earth. We are borrowing it from our children, right? And your grandchildren and their children and on and on and on and on. That's why we live. Because if we mess it up, we end up like this. Yeah, who remembers Wall-E? Oh, yeah. Yeah, my daughter was in her early ages, 3 or 4 or whatever, when this came out. We watched this so many times. And it's such a great story, when humankind ends up in a position where we have to leave the earth, what happens, and this little guy discovers that there's still life after everybody had left, and it's just so incredible to know that that's what matters. So please celebrate land. Who goes to national parks? Anybody? Yeah? Okay. Keep going. All right? That's our land. National parks matter. We need to love all landscapes. Because I know the reason why we are who we are and the reason why we are so understanding of, the planet and development and everything that happens is that we know how to design with nature, right? This is kind of the hallmark of who we are. It's really straightforward. Another favorite park, this is Crosswater's Eco Lodge in China. This project sets right into nature. You don't even know it's there. It's a bamboo forest. And the landscape just works all around it. And it's just really incredible. And I think that's the reason why design is so important. I believe that we need to, hone those skills early. In your first year, learn everything you can about history, how to analyze a site, how everything comes together in site design, planting, grading, and even some detailing, understanding how it all comes together. And then practice that every year, hone those skills over and over again. Because that's our unrivaled expertise. That's why we do what we do. We step into a room with other professionals, they know we're gonna solve the problem, right? And we're gonna do it in the most natural way possible, which is so awesome. It goes back to this, right? I hope, this is another book, I hope you've read this, all right? This is the foundation. If you don't learn anything in this program, please make sure that you take that away, because it is critical to know that we haven't just started doing this. We've always been focused on this. From layering and all the things that were happening in the early days related to landscape architecture. And then on the climate side, we've been talking about this at ASLA for a long time. Just go back to sites and work your way all the way up to the Climate Action Plan, which we're about to launch the next phase of it. We told ourselves when we launched it, every 5 years we're gonna update it, and we're doing it right now. We've merged climate action and biodiversity because those two work together. And it's really fantastic to see what's happening. So take some time, hit that QR code. It'll take you right there. This information is free to our members. You are all members. Take advantage of it and use it in your work. There's a sort of philosophical element of it, which is the plan, and then there's the action practical element of it, which is the field guide. So you can use it in your classes as well. It's really cool. I just know that this was something that we didn't really focus on for a while at a large scale, but it was our members that said, hey guys, you got to get going. And believe it or not, we received a letter from students. I was the VP of professional practice. And students wrote an open letter titled ASLA Adapt. Get your shit together. Really. And I was like, whoa. And so many people on our executive committee were like, oh wow, that's kind of scary. And I was like, no, this is great. This is an opportunity for us to take off. And it's broken down in 3 topics: practice, equity, and advocacy. And there's so much. This is our largest committee at ASLA, and one focused on climate and biodiversity. It is really incredible the work that's coming out of that. And I'll touch on some of that as well later. But we have a vision. We think that by 2040, landscape architecture projects will do a lot of things. We'll achieve zero emissions. We'll really find ways to celebrate those economic benefits so we can really get people back to work in the land. We'll address climate injustices. This is really incredible, and empower communities. We're doing so much outreach now, and I hope that as many of your courses as possible that you're engaging with the community, because that really, really matters as you get into this. And then certainly we'll restore ecosystems. This one really, really matters, because if we let it go, in many cases, Mother Nature will just come back. But if we give her some help, it's going to come back faster and we'll be healthier. This really shows me that what we're doing has value. We were not doing this. We were talking about the environment, we were talking about social issues, but we weren't talking about the money. People listen when they hear this. The work we do is a lot less expensive than the engineering and adding pipes and big roads and all this stuff. And the work we do is so much better for the environment. So I implore you all to share with people the value of landscape architecture. Again, this information is on our website. We've used it to demonstrate to clients the value of parks so they can invest in their parks and show them that, hey, this park will generate revenue, and they do. And it's really incredible when we understand the business side of our work. It just makes us so much more powerful. And then our current fellow, Pamela Conrad, has been working very closely with the UN and touching on climate, especially as it relates to fires. This has been something that has really taken the world by storm when it comes to folks that are very involved with COP and other sort of climate agencies, because we weren't talking about this as much as we should be. And after Los Angeles, I think people were like, oh, yeah, we should be talking about this. I just returned from France, from IFLA's World Congress, and the International Federation of Landscape Architects, they're all talking about this stuff. They're talking about the same stuff we're talking about: fires, droughts, all sorts of activities related to land, and as well as what I found very interesting is they're talking about awareness, right? The awareness of our profession. A lot of people just don't know that we do this stuff, and we're very humble about it. This particular gentleman here, Mark Arnold, he's a landscape architect, went to the University of Kentucky, works in Lexington, and it's just bread and butter work. He's landscape architecture, designing communities. And they have these challenges, and one of their big challenges is flooding. A lot of people have landed in what they call the hollers, the lowland, where it's fertile and they can farm, but their homes have been just wiped out year after year after year, and it's getting worse. 2022, Hazard, Kentucky saw probably the most devastating floods ever. Who would ever thought that Asheville would have been hit by a hurricane? This stuff is happening. And so Governor Beshear reached out to a developer and said, can you help? And the developer called Mark and said, hey, can you help us design some communities? He's like, where are you thinking of doing them? And he's like, I don't know. He's like, you've got these low areas. He's like, well, what about those strip mines? It was his idea, this landscape architect. Like, what about those old strip mines on the ridges that are just sitting there? Let's turn those into communities. They're on higher ground too. And so people were incentivized to move from the lowland to the highland, and it's happening. And Mark is so humble about it. He's like, I didn't do anything special. That's just what landscape architects do. I just think that's brilliant, but we got to talk about it more. Over the year, we've been talking about it. Since the fires, I've been honored to host these forums related to natural disasters. It's remarkable. We covered the entire United States. We're focusing on landscape architects in the United States right now, but these same lessons can be applied around the globe. And we broke it down into 3 phases in conversation: clearing debris, what happens right after a storm. I love this. One of our participants said, you know what, we're really like second responders, not first responders there to make sure that everything is done and it's triaged and people are safe. But we need to go in after they finish that work to make sure they're not knocking down trees that are still alive and making sure that we're not doing things that are going to be harmful in the future. Because people just want to get back to normal. That was our second round, building with purpose. We wanted to make sure that people were rebuilding, but doing it in a way that's going to be sustainable and it's going to last. Because we know people just want to get back to normal, but there's no reason to build your house right back in the floodplain when you know it's going to get flooded again. And then finally, looking ahead was our third round. And this round is very important. This is the sort of pre-disaster work. This is where landscape architects need to embed themselves in planning the apartments with municipalities and show them there is a better way for you guys to do the work you're doing, because it matters. So in closing on this first chapter, I really want to encourage you to prioritize land. Land is incredible. Please promote nature-based solutions and always leverage our resources. They're there for us to be better practitioners and students. Second chapter, reconciliation. I always tell people the land was here first. It always has been, as I mentioned earlier, and we need to, really spend time celebrating that. I think it's very important. And I think that we all need reconciliation. Many of our land spaces that we have need it. We're in the Anthropocene, we've done all sorts of crazy stuff, but it's not too late. It just isn't, right? And Mother Nature is gonna be fine, but we need to reconcile ourselves as well. And so I really want you all to consider that as you do the work you do. Make sure you're doing something that allows the land to be better. Next book, all right. Who's read this? It's one of my favorite books. Robin does such a great job of explaining why our ancestors, our indigenous people, are critical to living. All the people around the globe that are indigenous, they lived off the land. They didn't take everything. They took only what they needed, right, and left the rest so that it would continue to flourish. And I think that's great that we need to awaken this ecological consciousness, this care for land, and this sort of acknowledgement that we are together. We have to be. It's the only way. We do that in our work as well. This is one of my favorite projects, another really good one down in Mexico on the Yucatan Peninsula. This site was a site that our client owned, but it had been devastated by a hurricane, and they didn't know what to do with it, and they had some areas that they just weren't going to come back, these mangroves. And so the project's called Etero, which means ethereal in Spanish, and we really leaned into the culture here. And we were able to find a way to design this within the nature. All the buildings, all the structures, the majority of them are on pylons. They're on stilts. So the mangroves and the water, everything just goes underneath them. Where they were damaged beyond repair is where some of the land, some of the project elements sit on the ground. But it's amazing. And out of the 25 acres that we had to utilize in their site, we only utilized 4. And they're doing great. I mean, this place is one of the best in the Auberge collection of resorts. I mean, they really make a lot of money. And it's because landscape architects had a leading role in this opportunity. Because I know for a fact that nature doesn't have a design problem, right? No way. Nature is just fine. Mother Nature is one of the greatest designers ever. People do. This is the problem. We need to get out of the way and live and work with nature, because it really is critical. And we need to understand that, over time, a lot of the things that happen in nature happen because of different cultures, right? This project that we did in Morocco, we were able to meet a local culture that I had no idea about. We met Berber tribes. These people have been living off the land for centuries, right? And they move with the land. They move when things are good, they're there. When they're bad, they move somewhere else. But they just have such a respect for the land. And this particular image was taken where the Sahara Desert meets the Atlantic Ocean. It is the most incredible ecology. It's so beautiful. Because we know that culture is not inherited, right? The culture is something that is learned over time, right? And it's shared. And what matters about culture is that you really leverage it to be the most incredible person you can, and give back to those cultures and share those cultures and celebrate those cultures, because they all are important. All right, practice, right? How many of you think that when you graduate, you're going to work in a private company? Oh, really? Okay. When I graduated, I thought that was it, right? And I learned over time through a lot of collaboration with incredible smart people, there are so many ways to practice. I'll touch on those in a moment. But first, I want to share another book with you. This author is one of my favorites. I'm reading another one of his books right now, but Essentialism really helped me because I was doing a lot of stuff, but I wasn't really focusing on the stuff that matters, right? And what really got me about this book is that, you know, he was talking about the discipline pursuit of less, like doing less. We all have a lot of stuff, but what is really, really important? What really matters to you? I think that is critical. And as you get into the world and you're doing your thing, do the same. Find that focus. Find something that really, we're great generalists, but many of us are very, very good at a few particular things. So focus, because from a practice side, you can do all the stuff on this list, right? You can practice as an academic, public-private practice, as I mentioned before. You can run a nonprofit. You can be a part of a NGO, an environmental group. You can certainly get into the development world, right? You can develop projects. I know a lot of landscape architects that are developers, and they're the best developers, right? Because they just get it. You can help owners. You can actually own a landscape maintenance firm, or you can own a landscape construction company. You can do technology applications, right? Like Jack Dangerman. Who knows how much money Jack Dangerman is worth? What's his net worth? You know. You've heard this before?
13 billion.
13 billion now? Yeah, last time I checked it was 10.5. He's a landscape architect. Really? Really? This guy is incredible, incredible. So many ways to practice. From design build, you can focus on horticulture, you can focus on botanical gardens, all kinds of stuff. So keep your eyes open, try lots of stuff, and it's just incredible what you can learn. Because we exist to elevate the voice of the profession. That's why we're here. We're here for you, right? And we want to have as much outreach to young people so they can get involved in the profession, but we also want to have as much exposure as possible. That image that you're seeing on the screen is SoFi Stadium, designed by Studio MLA, Mio Lero, very good friend. We get a lot of press, we get a lot of TV coverage because people are at the game and they're seeing that landscape architects were involved in this. And so I think it's going to be very important for us to make sure that over time that we continue to thank landscape architects, because if you love a park, you love tailgating at the stadium, or if you love, you know, the after game events and everything that we do, we design that stuff, right? It's important for us to really do that. And the second thing I want you to do is encourage someone else. If you know someone in high school, you know, someone in elementary school, tell them, you know, this is our secret sauce. We need to keep moving it forward. Because ASLA has done a really, really good job of just focusing on what matters to the profession, not getting distracted by other stuff. Nobody cares about our president buying a plane. Nobody cares about all this stuff. We're really focusing on what is important for landscape architects, which is cool. So we're leading the profession. There's information available also on our website. If you want to know the state of the market, what's happening in landscape architecture, again, go grab it on our website. You just go asla.org and look for our industry report. And then also we have a foundation internally, our ASLA fund. We invest in you. We invest in landscape architecture. So we raise money for fellowships, for projects, for scholarships, all sorts of really cool things to allow us to grow. It's really incredible. And as you enter the profession, and even as you are not entering the profession, the resources are there as well. So go online, you can check it all out at asla.org. There's so much information. Even as an emerging professional, you can grab this to make your lives a lot easier. And the reason why this comes together well is because we're very strategic. This is our second phase of our strategic plan that was launched in 21. And it's really incredible to see the amount of work we've done in a very, very short time. And it's allowing us to be the most incredible practitioners ever. And we certainly believe in these actions because they allow us to be that much better. So I really want to make sure that we focus on what's happening. So there are many things that's happening in the world. that don't apply to landscape architecture, and there are several things that do. And so ASLA is focusing on those things, and we think it's important that, this last year has been pretty crazy. There have been a lot of, executive orders, bills. We've had even recent executive orders that are affecting our business related to the H-1B visas. Stuff is happening, so we need to really stay on top of it, and laws as well. But I think what matters is that we're staying focused on what is important to landscape architects, and we're being strategic about it. These are the things that we're addressing, and I'll go through them shortly. We're amplifying the message, as I said before. We're really mission-based, we're being strategic, and we're curating topics that matter to landscape architects. There's a lot of money out there, a lot of federal funding that has been paused related to work that landscape architects do, like trails and a lot of transportation money that it really is related to us. We are paying quite a lot of attention to this and speaking up when we see problems. So we wrote a letter to US DOT Secretary Duffy that, hey man, don't mess with the funds for bikes, right? We've got these trail networks going everywhere. They're important, they raise money. We gave them examples of the Beltline, for instance, that is a really, really major economic generator. And because these things are just incredible. And people, sometimes they just don't know. So we have to educate them. And then also, we are definitely standing with federal employees, Park Service, Forest Service folks. We are there. We were able to convene several of them, and we have these ongoing conversations about ways they can continue doing the work they do, whether it's through a state instead of the feds, or it's through an NGO or a private company that is really focusing on protecting the environment. We are there, right? So anything you hear, make sure you remind people that if they have an issue and they need help, just call us, all right? That's why we exist. It's really simple. We're also strengthening business. And one great thing that came out of recent events is a lot of tax laws that help professionals, small businesses, right? You can, get into your 529 savings, and you can do a lot of things to, write off your R&D expenses. These things didn't exist before, and they're great. And so we are raising our hand and saying, all right, members, here's some information that will help you be better. And we're definitely continuing to champion climate and biodiversity. We doubled down. We're still in the Paris Agreement. We really believe in climate action. We know that it matters, and we're going to keep on going. And then finally, we are championing diversity. I think we are so much better because we have all sorts of ideas from around the globe. That's why America's incredible, because we have people from all over the globe that come together and just make things, sing. It's just incredible. So, in closing this chapter, I want you all to remember that we have to celebrate practice. It doesn't matter how you do it. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you're doing it, and you're enjoying it, and you're really taking us to the next level. Promote all aspects of the green industry, please. It doesn't matter if there are folks that are in the maintenance industry or folks that are in the building industry or design industry. We all need each other, so promote it. Take advantage of our business tools. If you have a small business or you're trying to learn something related to business, it's all available. And certainly, we need to continue to protect the right to practice, right? Through great advocacy. I mean, when we show our representatives our projects, people are like, wow, we didn't know you did that, right? They just don't know. So share it, please. All right, last chapter is restoration. And this one is incredible for me because ecosystems do recover. It just takes a little time. And when they come back, they're even better. And so if you see the opportunity to protect an ecosystem, please do it. Please do it. Next book, this is another favorite. And I don't know how many of you have read Forest Bathing before. Anyone? Oh, all right, great. This whole idea of Shinryu-yoku is a Japanese tradition that really dates back centuries to protect the forest because has been known that these are special places. They're spiritual, and they really revere their forests. 80% of the country is covered by landscape, which is incredible, forested, and they just do their best. And this particular writer, Dr. Lee, he discovered, and which is probably already known, he just went out and just researched it and documented that people are healthier when they spend more time outside. Go figure, right? Really simple. I mean, 20 minutes in a forest is life-changing, right? And the more time you spend, the better you get. So this is one of the most important things that we need to do to protect our diverse planet. And you may look at this image and say, oh, there's just one species of, whatever tree this is, and say, okay, that's it. But no, there's a lot going on in there, right? There's way more than you can imagine, this pine forest, that there's several thousands, maybe millions of creatures living harmoniously with each other and just doing it. And that's why diversity matters. That's why our ecosystem matters, because I always knew, and I've learned this financially, you want to be diverse. I have a diverse portfolio, because if I have all my stock in one group and they go under, that's a problem, right? So it's important. I think it's important for us to celebrate biodiversity because it makes life live. As I stated earlier, we're stronger together. I think it's really, really simple. The words that you see here in red have been misinterpreted multiple times, and it's so confusing, and it's unnecessary. I mean, when you really think about this big idea, and I pulled this from my good friend Mitchell Silver, inclusion is very simple. Inclusion means you just want to belong. It doesn't matter where you come from, what you do, what you look like, what color your eyes are. You just want to belong to your tribe. You want to have fun, right? You want to keep going. Diversity is simple. Every single one of you have different ideas. We are all diverse. Doesn't matter what color you are, where you grew up. None of that. These are all your personal experience that you bring to bear every day. So differences are good, because if you're sitting at a table and you're getting different perspectives, you make better choices and decisions. Equity drives me crazy. This is a very simple word. If you go and define it, it means fair. Who doesn't want to be treated fairly, right? Everybody wants that. And access is as well as simple. We all want to have access. It doesn't matter what is going on. You want to remove those barriers so we all have access to the good life. E pluribus unum, right? Out of many, one. That's who we are. Pretty straightforward. Another site, a project that I really revere at Naviva. Again, we had 45 acres. We only used 6. We're able to tuck all these resort units into the trees. You don't see the beach. It's not cleared out so you can see the beach. It is part of nature. So you have monkeys hanging out. You're on your terrace and you're just a part of nature. And people are watching birds and doing all the things that we think are really incredible. But a lot of other people think they are incredible as well. That's really cool. So I'm going to touch on partnerships. Partnerships matter as well. We need to really leverage them. We should and we can. We have the agency to bring a lot of people together because we're generalists, right? We know how to play well in the sandbox. We know how to bring everybody together. So landscape architects are natural leaders. And I think what's important here is that this is our prominent voice. This is our opportunity to share what we know and make sure that we can really support the common good. Next book. Anybody read this book? Yeah, because if you're going to hang out with people, you really you need to know how to communicate, right? This book, Super Communicators, really teaches you how to speak. Because there's basically 3 types of conversations. People either want to just be heard, right? I'm just getting this off my chest. I want to be heard. They want to be helped. They might have a big problem. They need some help with that problem. Or sometimes they just want a hug, right? 3 H's. It's that simple. But if you want to be heard and someone's trying to help you, guess what happens? Conflict, right? This is how you reconcile. This is how you get past that and restore that relationship. You're having a conversation, ask somebody, hey, what's this about? What do you really need here? You just want to get this off your chest and vent, or is there a problem that I can help you with? Don't immediately offer the solution. Find a way to communicate very well, because the better we communicate, the better we are with partnerships. And we have lots of partnerships. We have all the partners down the middle in our space of landscape that you all are familiar with. But on the edges, there are partners that we don't always talk to, like ULI, right? The developers, they need us, they need our services. So we have doubled down. We're spending a ton of time at ULI now, and it's just so cool to see our synergies. American Medical Association, right? Health outcomes are better because of landscapes. Insurance guys, development is going to be definitely monitored through insurance. If you can't get your property insured, the deal isn't happening, right? We need to talk to these guys because we can help our clients accelerate their projects by showing them that the way that we design is going to get your project out of harm's way. It's going to allow the underwriter to write a policy because they know it's not going to get flooded. I mean, simple stuff like that is not always thought about, but we need to do a better job talking about it. And because not everybody is aware of who we are. And so that's why back some time ago, we took on this really bold initiative called Frameworks. Again, this is on our website. These guys are social scientists, and they help to sort of reframe conversations and and assumptions of groups or people or businesses, et cetera. And they just went around through these 3 phases and did their work. Their first phase was just finding out what people know about us. So they asked the public, what do you know about a landscape architect? And they asked the professionals. The gap was like this. People just didn't know. And so they started changing some words, and the gap started to close. And so now this is what we are using to sort of launch the whole conversation up through awareness to make us better. 4 strategies, very simple. Paint a vivid picture, appeal to people's values, like what really matters to them. Definitely explain how we make life better, and show examples, right? I recently had an opportunity to share with someone what we do. I was at the ASLA Florida conference. I was leaving to go to a meeting, and there was another group there, and there's a mother and 2 kids that came down the elevator when I got on. I got on, and they're so polite. They're like, why are you here? I was like, I'm here for the American Society of Landscape Architects Conference, our Florida chapter. And they politely said, oh, okay. They just nodded their heads. And I was like, why are you here? Oh, we're here for the sports seminar. I was like, oh, yeah, youth sports. Yeah, I know all about that, you know. And I could tell they didn't know what we did. So I looked over to the young boy who was in the elevator, and I was like, do you know? He's like, what? It's like, do you know? I was like, where are you guys going now? He's like, oh, we're going to go to SeaWorld. It's like, do you know that landscape architects design theme parks? His eyes were like saucers. They just got giant. He was like, no way. And it's like, yes. And I looked to his sister and was like, and do you know landscape architects design ball fields? And she's like, what? So we just need to explain it. That's all it is. So these are the strategies. It's so clear. It's so simple. You know, we usually try to get into all this jargony stuff, but I think you just gotta get it to the basics, right? We're here to help you be healthier. Done, right? Make it simple. Make it very simple. We talk about all the elements in our projects. They're cool because they have all these amenities and things, but we need to tell people why they're there, right? They're there to help you connect and live and be human. And we certainly, I love this, we certainly need to be licensed because a lot of folks don't think we do. And we do, right? You would not want your doctor not to be licensed, right? Your engineer that has to make sure the building falls on you not to be licensed, right? If you want people to trip and fall and have issues in the landscape, right? Don't license landscape architects, but we say yes because we're responsible for that. We're responsible for public health, safety, and welfare. These are things you have to do. And then certainly just talk about the projects. It's that simple. Just talk about the projects. And when they see the work, they're like, oh, wow, we didn't know you guys did that. That's what you got to do. And so we're leveraging that. Our CEO has been interviewed, and he's not a landscape architect, but he talks like a landscape architect. He's really, really awesome. And he's really supporting us, and we're using that frameworks platform to sort of push it out. Coming up soon, and I don't know if this is for prime time or if we can talk about it, but we're going to bring in a videographer with ASLA to help tell those stories, because that's really what it's about. And we're going to try to push it out on all the different mediums that we can so we get people ingrained in landscape architecture. One day it'll be a household word, phrase. So leverage the partnerships, connect with allied and aligned organizations. You know, many organizations do what we do. They care about what we care about, and so get involved. All of you can be a spokesperson, right? You meet someone and they ask you what you're doing or who you are or what's going on, and you say landscape architect, and you can see the cloud coming over their head that says question mark, question mark. Tell them, please tell them, because they'll tell somebody else, and on and on and on. It's simple. And be a landscape architect beyond boundaries. Don't just, you know, yes, you need to think global and really, really do that in a way that pulls it all together, but certainly act local. And those things just all tie together. Because at the bottom line, it's all about awareness. If people knew that landscape architects design the High Line, right? I've been on this so many times, and there's thousands of people. It's so packed. They had to add more areas for people to walk because people just love it. It's just so great. So I highly encourage you to do that. And if you want to do more, join ASLA and do as much as you can to be a part of this community. Join a PPN that is interesting to you, a professional practice network. Hey, national leadership is possible, right? Even as a student. And definitely get involved in special projects, because this is what makes us sing. We have a very strong society, just like all the other professionals. So I think it's important to celebrate landscape architecture. I mean, We really have to, because landscape architects are an incredible bunch, and I've met a lot of them this year, and I continue to be really astounded and amazed by the people that call this their mission. It's incredible. I've done 5 chapter visits, 5 university visits. This is my final leadership visit, believe it or not. Doing it at Georgia, yeah! So excited that worked out. I went to Oklahoma State University. I was up at Guelph for Labash, SUNY ESF up in Syracuse. I was out at Cal Poly Pomona recently, and now here, and it's been unbelievable. And I think the other thing that I love, I did the commencement for us back in 21. One of the responsibilities of the president is to do the commencement for University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. And also, again, that was wonderful. It's a celebration. You know, going to CELA and going to CSLA and IFLA, all these things allow us to reconnect and be with each other and learn from each other. That's why membership matters to me. It's the network. I meet so many cool people that are doing things that I don't do, and when I need to do things that have that sort of element, I know who to call. It's just really great. We have a great class of fellows coming in. I think there's one from Georgia, right? And we are really excited about this. We're going to celebrate them in New Orleans shortly. And then also we have some amazing honors recipients that we're going to celebrate. Scape, who we're currently collaborating with, is the Firm of the Year, which is really great for Kate and the team there. And then I love this. I mean, the awards are incredible. And I know I juried all of them, and I've chaired the student awards. There's so much good work. So get out there, share your work, and talk about landscape architecture. We actually have 35 professional awards and 34 student awards. It's really cool. And then as I near the end, my first conference was 2025 in Fort Lauderdale. And I volunteered, I showed up, I did a tour. I was an urban emerging professional, so I was heavily involved in what was happening, and it was great. And so I really want to encourage you, if you haven't been to a conference before, go. It will change your life. This is really, really one of the best parts of ASLA, and I encourage you to check in New Orleans if you can. And then in closing, I want to just remind you to celebrate land, because land is essential for survival. Celebrate culture, because culture has established our values. This is the reason why we are where we are. And certainly leverage those partnerships, because the partnerships matter. And celebrate landscape architecture. Okay? Super incredible. It's our common purpose. That's why we all exist. We are here to really design with nature. Jane Goodall said many years ago, to reconnect with nature is the key if we want to save the planet. We want to save the planet. I know I do. I want to be around for a while, and I want my family to continue to thrive. And I'll leave you with this. It's an amazing time to be a landscape architect. We're super busy. We need more people in this profession. And the reason why we do what we do is because we are responsible by nature. Thank you.